Hello, my name is Josh Sanders. I am a communication major at ETSU. I have a minor in family studies, and actually upon finishing this class, I will be done. I have my diploma, and I will actually start seminary at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary on Monday. But this class has unexpectedly had a good effect on me. It's going to benefit me for the rest of my life in my occupation of ministry in the Baptist Church. I did my service learning project with Touchpoint Ministries, which is a part of Tri-Cities Baptist Church. They have just a little building down the road from the church. I never have got to volunteer there because I'm involved in the worship ministry at Tri-Cities Baptist. So it was really nice being able to break away from what I do all the time and go and volunteer with them. But they're open on Tuesday and Thursday from 4 until 6 p.m. I got there at 3:45, and there was already 30 to 35 families just waiting for their food. I got inside, I actually came on a day, and they said that a couple people who normally show up did not show up, and so I got thrown into the mix because they were short-handed. Luckily, there's a husband and wife who volunteer every week, Mr. and Mrs. Noel. They were there, and so they kind of took me by the hand, led me along, taught me what went into each box, who got what, who got certain food items, non-food items, and so forth. So after doing that for a few boxes, I actually got to carry some boxes out to the families and help them load it into their cars. They encourage you to actually have a conversation and get into the lives of these people if they are willing to. This is where my idea for the interview went completely changed. I originally had interviewed a U.S. Marshal and was going to use that, but I talked to two men specifically who had families. And they told me about how they had stable jobs. One was at Eastman. I can't remember where the other one was, but they had both been laid off. They were doing fine. They were supporting their families, but got laid off, and now they're having to seek assistance. What changed my view was seeing the hurt in their eyes, seeing how they had been demasculinized by having to ask for help. But one of the biggest things that they said, yes, the food was a great help. But they had talked about how Pam Rankin, who is the site manager on Thursdays at Touchpoint Ministries, Tim Kitts, who is the community outreach director for Touchpoint Ministries, and Travis Pridemore, who's the site manager on Tuesdays, how the relationship that had been built with them had affected their lives, even though they were seeking help. So at that point in time, I really changed what I was going to do with my interview and decided to interview Tim Kitts and Pam Rankin because they were both there at the time. Luckily, Tim was there. He's not always there because he's directing everything, has a lot on his plate. But I got to interview both Tim and Pam, and I also talked to the Noels that were there and some other volunteers that were there as well. But anyway, my first question for Tim was, what's your specific role? Tim, actually, he oversees the volunteers, getting volunteers in there, getting it staffed. He oversees the budget for Touchpoint Ministry, which comes later in a question I had to ask him, and it's not shocking with his answer. He has to get donations. There are several different organizations that donate laundry detergent and non-food items like that. He also has to communicate with the other food pantries in the area. Touchpoint is not an independent food pantry. We actually work through other food pantries in the area. And also, which just confirmed my decision to switch to Tim for the interview, was that he is over Keystone Recreation Center. If you're not familiar with Keystone, it is a low-income government housing complex in Johnson City that happens to have a recreation center. Tim is over the after-school activities there and specifically dealing with those children. But in dealing with those children, he also gets to create relationships with the parents, often single-parent homes. And so, moving on, I talked to Pam Rankin. Her job description was she works the front desk, she signs people in, she registers new people who need help, but her biggest job is to create relationships with these people. She told me she has a don't ask, don't tell kind of policy. We're not going to ask what their situation is, but if they want to tell, we're more than willing to sit there and talk. And that's what Pam does. She sits there and she just talks to people and creates those relationships. And I found out after talking to some of those families, that's one of the biggest and best helps, is having that friendship and that consistency there to help them through these hard times. So here's some of the questions that I asked them was, what is your role here? Which I've already described from Tim and Pam. Is this ministry growing? How and why? Do you meet more nutritional needs, or do you meet more non-food item needs? Do you see more individuals or more families? Do you, speaking to Tim specifically because he's the coordinator of it, do you have to deal with the local government? Do you have to deal with government laws, regulations? And also, is it getting harder to meet the needs of the people who come in here? And that's some of the questions I asked to both Pam and Tim, and we'll go over some of the answers with that. Is the ministry growing? How and why? They both immediately said yes. They have new families coming in every week. The economy is not the best. People are falling into hard times. Payments are getting overdue. People are needing help. And they both specifically cited the economic hard times, which skip down to the question, is it getting harder to meet the needs of the people coming in here? Tim said yes, without a doubt, because the economy is so bad, the cost of living gets higher. Our budget is kind of staying the same right now, but the cost of living is going up, so it is getting a lot harder, and we're having to rely more on donations from people to supply the needs of these people. Do you meet more nutritional needs than clothing needs? Right now, they're explaining to me, Tim and Pam, that they do a little bit of both. Because school's starting back right now, on August 1st, they said that they gave out around 80 backpacks full of school supplies for kids who were in need. And that was just something that they came up with a few weeks before school started, that they were like, we needed to meet this need, and they met that need. So that was a great thing. Do you see more individuals or more families here? And this is the thing where people oftentimes get confused, and they think that homeless or low income is just some single hobo off the street. They see a lot of families. They also see a lot of individuals, but they specifically highlight there are a lot of families. A lot of them are where they are single parent homes having to support the kids, but they're having to work a couple jobs during the week. And it's also full families who the dad's just been laid off and they cannot meet the needs of their families. But another part of my interview that I really want to talk about is Tim's role at Keystone. I really got to talk to him in depth about this. I got to volunteer at Keystone before, and so I wanted to talk to Tim really about what his goals were at Keystone, what he was trying to do with them. And so specifically, one of my biggest questions for him was, with dealing with people who are in poverty, low income, single parent homes, oftentimes hungry, like, how does that roll over into the lives of the children, and how does that change his role at Keystone? He said oftentimes single parent or both parents, they are low income, so they're both out, or one of them's out all day trying to work two jobs, trying to find anything that can make them some money. So the kids are kind of left on their own to do whatever they want. So by the time Tim gets them, they often have trouble with authority figures. They don't have any discipline in their lives. There's no consistency. There's no stability. So what Tim's trying to do at the Keystone Recreation Center is just really give the kids an environment where they can have fun, but they also have a stable environment. Tim has several people under him. He was explaining that are stable and consistent role models in these kids' lives. So any given day that these kids come to the recreation center, their role models are there. They can talk with them. They can get homework help, and they also learn respect for authority. But with working with the kids, Tim also creates relationships with the parents. And something Tim's trying to start on now is to help those parents find jobs, to help them find affordable housing outside of the government housing. And he said he does deal with families who do get the looks and the stares. They fall under the stereotype that they're either drug dealers, or they're lazy, or they're just not doing anything for their kids. They're bad parents. And Tim said it really is not the case. He rarely sees that as the case of them being drug dealers, lazy, or bad parents. He said most of the people he talks to, they are really good parents, but they're doing the only thing that they know to do, and it's to go out and try and find any job available to provide for their kids. And so Throughout my interview with Tim and Pam and my time at Touchpoint Ministries, one thing really stuck out to me, and that was the relational aspect of Tim, Pam's job, and then mine and my wife's job now that we are going to start volunteering at Touchpoint once a week. People need those nutritional needs met. If they can't afford food, they need somebody to give them food. And I'm not denying that. But something that I saw that was very important, and that the people I talked to said was very important, is the relational aspect. My wife and I have talked. We are now going to go to Touchpoint to really create those relationships, because just as much as those food needs, you need people to walk alongside you in life and just be there as that stable relationship in their life, just to listen to them. So that's something that I took away from Tim in his job at Keystone and his job at the Touchpoint Center, is he highly recommends and he really pushes the relational aspect of his job. And that's something that really affected me. It's affected my wife. I have a baby on the way, and that's something we have talked now. We want our son to be raised in an environment where he sees his dad and his mom taking things that we've been blessed with and trying to bless others with that, whether that's food, housing, or just being a friend to somebody. So as you can tell in this short amount of time, this service project and this interview with Tim and Pam really affected the way I look at things. It's kind of changed the way that my wife and I are looking at how we're raising our child too. So I hope this was an interesting video for you, and I look forward to learning more. Thank you.